I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others.
He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement and kept telling the story anyway.
I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
Now, his aides went back to say, look, he was in office marching for the idea.
That's not the word marching means.
Twitter. I was not out marching.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
And you ain't black.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black.
The most racist thing a person could tell me is that I'm supposed to choose something based on my race.
You ain't black.
That's racist! That's racist!
All right, welcome to the channel, America's Reality 360, where we bring you the reality of America. And today, we're talking about really hypocrisy, but more specifically, we're talking about this guy, Charlamagne the charlatan. That's what I call him. Charlamagne the charlatan. He calls himself Charlamagne the God. And just so you know, anybody who calls themselves the God is suffering from like severe insecurity. But anyway, there still is some hope in America, okay? Because he does a show called The Breakfast Club. And when you Google The Breakfast Club, the great classic movie shows up from the 80s. I recommend you go watch it. Great movie. But anyway, we're talking about the radio show, The Breakfast Club. This guy right here is Charlamagne the charlatan. All right. But they have a big show. They're based in all major cities. I won't even say what channel because I don't want to promote them, but they come on, I believe, in the morning, and a lot of people listen to them on their way to work and stuff. So, you know, it's important to know what people are being told and what they're buying into. So, as you saw in the beginning, that was a clip of Joe Biden on Charlamagne's show where he said that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. All right, there were some other clips of Joe Biden clearly being racist. And the topic today is how come they don't care about when people on the left are racist, but when people on the right, or in particularly Donald Trump, does anything that they can twist into being racist, they'll do it. So they'll bend over backwards to call other people racist. But when someone on their side is clearly racist, they do mental gymnastics to cover for it. And I'm going to show you that right here. So Charlamagne was on Piers Morgan's show, and check this clip out. Watch how he defends Joe Biden's racism.
But he said, if you're black, you don't vote for me, you're not black. He meant it as a joke. But what did you think when he said that? Was that a sense of entitlement, a bit of arrogance about the African-American vote?
I think that, you know, he has too many black friends around him, and they made him feel comfortable enough to make that joke. I feel like he probably had a bunch of black people around him who have said that exact language, because when they say that, they're saying that, hey, if you vote for Trump, you're literally voting, you know, against your own interests as a black person. And I think he's heard that a bunch of times, so he thought that that would have been a nice little...
So there you go. A guy who talks about how racist Donald Trump is, America, white people, all that, bends over backwards to defend Joe Biden when Joe Biden clearly said a racist statement right to his face. But you see how they act like it's a joke. Oh, it's so funny. He was just joking around. Could you imagine if Donald Trump said that? I mean, you type in Trump racist and it's an endless amount of propaganda, basically, right? They twist and manipulate and it's like no context, real short clips. All that. You can have your fun looking through that, and it's easy to pick apart. But we're going to talk about why it's dangerous, okay? Because when someone like Charlamagne starts pushing ideas that they don't even believe, that tells you something. It's like they're either falling for all the lies or they're being paid to push all the lies. I don't know, but it's got to be one or the other, right? And why this is dangerous is because when people start pushing lies that they don't even believe, that can lead your entire society into a very dangerous place. For example, in Mao's China, okay? This is where the dunce cap was created. They had these things they called struggle sessions, okay? And I'll just give you the briefing from Wikipedia, right? The struggle sessions or denunciation rallies were violent public spectacles in Mao's China where people accused of being class enemies were publicly humiliated, accused, beaten, and tortured by people with whom they were close, usually conducted at the workplace, classrooms, and auditoriums. Students were pitted against their teachers, friends, spouses were pressured to betray one another, your wife, your husband. Children were manipulated into exposing their parents, okay? Staging scripts, agitators were prearranged by the Maoists to incite crowd support. So you see, they manipulate, they lie, they pressure people. Now, this kind of reminds you of something, right? Remember a couple years ago when they really wanted people to do stuff and they were trying to force everyone to do stuff, and then they started saying, hey, if your neighbors aren't doing it, if your family's not doing it, report it to the government. I'm pretty sure they had a hotline where you could tell on people. Okay, so they have already tried getting us in this mind frame of like telling on your neighbors and telling on your loved ones. And talk about teachers and students. That's a whole other episode. Okay, but this is why it's dangerous. The Breakfast Club is a huge show. They have a lot of viewers, a lot of people listening. And if they keep telling everyone, you know, only these people can be racist, this person's definitely racist, but then you see them defend a true racist, that tells you they are not serious. So they must be, they have some agenda. They have some reason to lie to people and try to convince people that there's something going on that isn't. And that's dangerous, especially when you're talking about racism. And when I say talking about it, I mean constantly talking about it. I'm sure you've heard it, seen it in your life. It's everywhere right now. Media, entertainment, the classroom even. Don't take my word for it. Check this out right here. I'm going to give you 2 examples real quick.
That actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
So all white people benefit from racism with white privilege. If you are not actually dismantling racism, if you are not going to pull people up from the bottom of the pyramid to the top, then you are participating and benefiting from racism.
Oh, that was different.
Yeah, so that was some lecture at a college where they paid this girl to come in and tell everyone that white people were literally born to be demons and they're all racist. And the second girl was like a trans race person. I don't even know what they called themselves, but I know it was like a white person who transformed themselves into a black person. And the left doesn't call that cultural appropriation. But if your son dresses as an Indian for Halloween, you're going to hear about it and they'll try to ruin your life because that's cultural appropriation. They tell people that all white people are born inherently racist. And even if you don't know it, you have the racism in you because you're born into this racist country that has a racist system. So anyway, I'm going to end it at that. I like to end on a good note. So I will show you there is some positivity here, right? So I was using my Copilot, brand new. I think it's ChatGPT. I'm not sure. I was playing around with ChatGPT before when they were letting us use the demo, and it was clearly biased, very left brain biased. And I was talking to it about similar things, and it was giving me some scary answers. But now with my new Copilot with Bing, it seems to have some sense in it. So I asked, are white people born racist? And to my surprise, it said no. No person is born racist, and racism is a learned behavior influenced by societal norms and personal experiences. That's great. Then I said, what is inherent racism? And it's telling you that it refers to institutional racism. Now, this is the part where we can get in the weeds because they're really saying it's all about the institutions, the education, the employment, the justice system, stuff like that. So then I asked, can black people be racist? Because the left does say only white people can be racist because they have all the power. So even if you're a white person who was born into a very poor family and you're still poor and you got some dead-end job that barely pays minimum wage, you're still racist because you have all the power. And even though there's been a black president, black DAs, black judges, black mayors, brown also, that doesn't mean anything. Only white people can be racist. And this is what they teach literally at colleges. So I asked the ChatGPT, can black people be racist? And it said racism is not exclusive to any particular race or ethnicity. I love that. This is a good sign. Okay, this is very good because people are going to be using this to get information in the very near future. Then I asked, finally, is America a racist country? The question of whether America is a racist country can be complex and is often a subject of debate. It's important to distinguish between individual acts of racism and systemic or institutional racism. I agree with that. But the reason why it gets us in the weeds is these people have already convinced themselves that America is a racist country. okay? And it's because of white supremacy. Now, this is all things that can be backed up. You can fact check me. They do say things like this. I'd like to provide more examples, but I don't want the video to go on too long. So basically, I wanted to show how the Breakfast Club and Charlamagne the God will bend over backwards to defend a racist who they agree with, who they support, who maybe they're even getting paid to support. I'm not sure. But as you see here, Vice President Kamala Harris even stated that she doesn't believe America is a racist country, although she does acknowledge the existence and impact of racism in the country. And I'm not saying there has never been racism in this country. Of course there has. There's been a lot of racist things that have happened in this country, but they've happened in every country. This is not exclusive to America. It's not exclusive to white people, although the left, they really want to make it seem that way. So if you agree with what I'm saying, if you can relate to it, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right. Leave me some comments. Let's discuss this stuff. I want to engage with people in the comment section. Have you seen stuff like this? Do you know the Breakfast Club? Are you familiar with Charlamagne the God? What do you think about him? Let us know what you think. All right. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for spending your time with us, and tune in tomorrow for another great video on America's Reality 360. All right, guys. I'll catch you later. Woo!